Today you're going to be looking at how to install Proxmox onto a computer. If you don't know what Proxmox is, it's essentially a operating system for handling virtual machines and containers so that we can run services just on a single computer instead of having multiple different computers running for different services. Now today I'm going to be installing it onto this little guy, the Zima board. While it's not perfect for actually running things at full scale, it's perfect for learning how to install different operating systems or just testing things on bare metal. Now let's get into it. To start, we're just going to be inserting our flash drive into our computer. First off, we're just going to be going on to the Proxmox's website. So just type that into Google, then go to the download Proxmox software button. Now just to be sure, I'm going to hit Proxmox Virtual Environment, ISO, and then download the most recent one. You're going to just the one on the top, Proxmox VE 8.2 ISO installer. Now we're waiting for that, we're just going to go ahead and go out, download Rufus, a tool that'll help us get our flash drive ready to install Proxmox. Just go ahead and go into their website or type in Rufus. You can download any one of these, but I'm going to go ahead and download the portable version so that way I don't have to actually install it. And we're just going to go ahead and open it. Now you see once you open up Rufus, it'll automatically detect your flash drive. Now you just need to wait for the Proxmox ISO to finish downloading. Now once Proxmox is downloaded, we're just going to go to Rufus, hit select our ISO. It's going to give you a little message, you can just kind of ignore it. Hit OK. Next, we're going to go ahead and just select start. And while we're doing that, I'm just going to wait for the Proxmox ISO to install into the flash drive so we can then insert it into our computer and install it there. And this will be slightly sped up, but once Rufus is done installing Proxmox onto our flash drive, we're ready to take it out and install Proxmox onto our computer. And as a small forewarning, if you are trying to install Proxmox onto one of these little computers that has built-in flash memory, Proxmox doesn't like actually being installed onto flash storage, so you will probably need to attach a SSD to the computer for it to properly install. Now we're simply just going to install our flash drive onto the computer, so that way we can go ahead and install Proxmox. Now, assuming you don't already have any operating systems installed, the Proxmox installer should start immediately. Otherwise, if it doesn't, we're just going to go ahead and enter our BIOS. So when your computer is starting up, either spam the delete key or whichever key your computer tells you. Now, if you want, we can either change our boot order to put the flash drive at the start. Otherwise, go to the save and exit and just go to boot override and select our flash drive manually. And once we start, we're just going to let your computer do its thing and start loading up the Proxmox installer. And once it does load up, we're just going to hit install Proxmox VE graphical. And this is going to take a few minutes to just go ahead and let your computer do all the installing that it needs to, as later on we're going to be going into another menu to finish installing Proxmox. Next up, we're going to be reading over the license agreement if you want. Otherwise, just go ahead and hit next. Then on the next page, we're going to be choosing our target disk or where we want to install Proxmox. So I'm just going to go ahead and select my 500GB SSD and then hit next again. And then on this page, we're going to be selecting our time zone and area. So I'm just going to go ahead and select America, Los Angeles, because it's usually PST. Hit next. Next, you'll just go ahead and set up your password and email. So of course, make these whatever you want them to be. Then go ahead and hit next. And then on this next page for IP, unless you need it to be on a specific IP address or subnet, we're just going to go ahead and leave all the options as default and hit next again. Then we're just going to hit install and let Proxmox finish installing. Then once Proxmox is done installing, it'll prompt you to reboot on your own, otherwise it'll reboot after a few seconds. And again, it'll do a little bit of loading, so just go ahead and wait for that to do its thing. Then once we get to this page that has a PvE login, we are essentially done installing Proxmox. Now all the last thing you already need to do is look at that little link it gives you at the top, and enter that link into whatever browser or computer you're using, so that way we can properly manage Proxmox from our browser. And once we're on our other computer and our browser, we're just going to go ahead and enter the link that Proxmox gave us. And if it tells you there's a security risk, just kind of ignore it. hit advanced or whatever your browser gives you. Acceptors can continue. And we should be at the Proxmox login screen. Now again, the default username is usually just root, so enter that. Then enter that password you put in on the password and email screen earlier. Save your username, log in. It's going to tell you don't have a valid subscription as well, so just kind of ignore that. Hit OK. Now we're all logged into Proxmox. We can go ahead and manage Proxmox however we please. And with that, Proxmox is now installed. Now, as I'm still learning how to use it myself, I'm not really going to be going into how to be using either containers or installing virtual machines yet, as I'll be probably doing a follow-up video to this once I actually learn more how to do it myself. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, so that gives me more motivation to actually keep on learning how to do all this stuff myself, since I usually make these tutorials after I have issues doing it myself.